Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. Good to see you, good to see you. So what are we doing today? We have work to do, if that makes sense. I think there's going to be a bunch of random changes that I want to do today. I think the most important one is I want to add a new tag for like alchemy reagents. Many people were confused as how the reagents were used. Because they have the same innate tag as everything else. So I think I'm just going to create a new tag for that. But that might be the first thing that we do. What else? There were some other things. I mean, I just have some minor stuff in the backlog here, which, you know, it's minor, but it needs to be addressed. I did get a bunch of stuff done yesterday, though, so that's cool. I'll show you some of that. But yeah, before we get into it, everything that we're doing today, I want to remind everyone that Alchemortis is available for playtesting now. So if you're interested, you can head on over to the Steam page, click the request access button, and also give it a wish list while you're there. Alchemortis is a dark fantasy roguelite auto battler where you can use alchemy to create your own builds and synergies. So if that sounds interesting, you can try the playtest. Like I said, the playtest will be available. I mean, it's Friday already. So it's available until Monday. So Monday morning it will be ending, and you'll have to wait until the next playtest to playtest it. So yeah, you can also support the game on Patreon. If you subscribe to the top tier here for at least 1 month, I will actually send you an Alchemortis Steam key when the game launches, and your name will be listed in the in-game Alchemortis credits. So if that sounds interesting, definitely consider that. And also I've got Udemy courses available for sale, which will teach you how to build complete games in the Godot engine. All that stuff is linked below if you want to support me and the development of Alchemortis. All right. Hello, Snupbill. Thank you for the IDR 10,000. Very much appreciate that. Thank you and welcome back. Always good to see you. With the message Yummers. Hello, Clickertail. Welcome back. Good morning, RN Genesis. Good morning, Kelso. Give me 1 second here. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. The Malicious Rabbit, welcome. Good to see you. Ribdo, good morning. Hello, V, welcome back. All right, let me show you some of the interesting stuff that I did. So I did remove dust. Alchemical dust is no longer a thing. So it's gone, goodbye. It's now just blood. Alchemy is back to costing blood. I kept the flat blood fee though. So that's something that I kept changed. And I also just generally reduced the sell price of cards. So, yeah. So cards will sell for generally less than they did in prior versions. So basically, whenever you're getting money from a card or blood from a card, it's just going to be a little bit of a compensation for getting rid of something. But I don't think I want selling cards to be the main way that you get blood. So, yeah. So that's that's kind of the situation that we're in right now. So cards sell for less. They're not going to be a very good source of blood, but they are going to be, you know, one of those things where if you just need like 2 more blood or whatever, you could sell a card. But the goal here is to make combat the main source of blood, or skipping events and whatnot. So that's one change. Another change that I made is I just felt a little bit inspired, and so I updated the legendary VFX for cards. So add item, lead ingot. Oops. Okay. So I updated the legendary effects for cards. So this will come in. Bam. So anyway, I think that looks a little bit nicer. So yeah, just a little bit more visually interesting. I spent like an hour last night doing that because I was just like, wait a minute, that would be cool to use like the beam and the ghosties from the resurrection container for the legendary. And then what else? So I had to rework a bunch of artifacts. I also did rework fire. So the fire status has been reworked. And the way fire now works... Where is it? Where's fire? The way fire now works is that it consumes all stacks and deals fire damage equal to the stack amount after a certain number of seconds. And then every stack, I think 15 or 10 stacks that are applied, accelerates the stack consumption by a certain amount. So the idea is that the more fire you're applying, the faster the burst can happen. But I think the damage might still be too much, so I might have to change that. But so fire is like this build-up mechanic where as soon as you apply 1 stack of fire, it starts a timer, and then that timer can be reduced by applying more stacks of fire. And then once that timer gets to 0, it does a bunch of damage equal to the total stacks of fire on the enemy, and then you could start it all over again. So yeah, I think I need to change the damage that does though, because right now it's 1-to-1, just 1 damage per 1 fire stack. But I think I may want to rework how armor works a little bit. I mean, there's not much to rework there, but you know, tweak armor a little bit and also tweak holy a little bit, and then all of the statuses will have been reworked or tweaked. Fireworks? Yeah, basically. So yeah. Anyway. What I want to do now is I want to add an alchemy tag to reagents to replace innate. To improve clarity. Okay. So this was a common piece of feedback. Basically, people were not sure how to use reagents. And so I'm hoping that just doing this kind of change will work. So when I go into the game and I give myself some reagents, add item, bat head. So this says innate adds a following ability to allied items on the left edge of the board. So we'll replace that innate with something like alchemy, or maybe alchemical or something. Well, we already have an alchemy tag, so maybe I mean it just could be called like reagent effect or something. But we can fix Bathead while we're here. Actually, I think I could fix this here. Let's see. Base composed, get additional explanations. Additional explanations. Public override, get ability explanations. Oh, this is going to be a mess. Add additional ability explanation. This alchemy added. I think what I can do... Add additional ability explanation, added ability dot get. Get explanations. Okay, I just want to see if that works first. Because that was a common issue. People were like, echo was not described on this thing. Which is fine. That was just an oversight on my part. Oh, the other thing I fixed too is that there's a bug where the turn cooldown reduction applied by the elf in a jar reagent was not being saved, was not being persisted to the save file. So I fixed that as well. Turn cooldowns are now persisted to the save file. I mean, that's not, I didn't fix that for the playtest because we only have a couple more days, but it's fixed on this version of the game. So now Bathead has Echo there. So that alchemy added ability. This kind of wraps a different ability, and it was just never surfacing that other ability explanations. So that should be working now. I probably also need to do shoot. Public void clear additional ability explanations. Okay, that should work. I'm gonna have to think about that ability explanation stuff a little bit. But anyway, so we're gonna want to replace this innate with something like reagent or something to that effect. Hello, Cookin'. I thought about, so my main goal is to make 3D horror games in Godot, but as I think about that goal is too big. So I think I want to start very small and make an incremental game because my main game is just release a game on Steam, but demo first on itch. Don't really care for money when I do release a game on Steam, but I just think it would be a good game to release on Steam. Yeah, I mean, I think picking a small, relatively easy to make game and throwing it up on Steam is yeah, that's a great way to learn. For sure. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. You could throw it up on Steam, even if it doesn't make much money, it'll still be a very, very good learning experience. Hello, Jahar, welcome. Which app am I using for development? Which one? It's VS Code and Godot. Welcome, Studio Tutorials. Thank you, V, for answering that. Sir Second Slime, hello. Welcome, Sir Slime the Second. Welcome to the stream, good to see you. Okay, so we need to come up with a different tag for this. Now, this is going to be a little bit tricksy. You know what I'm kind of... Is absorbed, is alchemizable, innate. Let's commit this. Additional explanations in... So what I may do is I may actually rename this to is innate. Set is alchemizable. Is set is innate. Look at all these changes we've got. Look at all those chickens. Set is innate. Provenance is alchemizable. This is going to have to be renamed. Is innate. I'm going to rename this one to is innate as well. Oh boy. Let's see. Is innate false. So I'm doing this for clarity purposes. I'm renaming this to innate to better match what's going on because I'm going to probably use something akin to like is alchemizable for the reagent abilities, or I'm going to use some kind of different flag for that. And I just want to make sure that that's all working well. Oh, I'm just realizing now that this is flipped. Is innate needs to be set to true. Okay. Goodness gracious, I need to flip all of this now. Interesting. Okay. Do I want to do that, or is there a better thing that I can do? Is innate alchemy absorbability. This needs to be flipped to true. Is innate needs to be false by default. And then basically everywhere where I'm defining is innate needs to be flipped to true. Oh boy, this is going to cause some issues for sure, but that's okay. This is the kind of thing that Claude would be really good at doing. But we're going to do it myself. We are going to do it myself. We're going to have to look for where set is innate is done. Okay. I'm just going to take notes as I'm going through this to make sure that I'm catching everything. This becomes is innate. This becomes is innate. Okay. Ability config is alchemizable. Oh gosh. That's fine. the things that I do for you all to make Alchemortis a lot cleaner. Where not ability is innate equals true there. Iron Maiden set as innate there. True is innate true. Riveting gameplay right here. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Is innate true? Okay. Gonna flip that. Okay. Flip that. I think that's right. All right, let me just go through and make sure once again that everything is good. That needs to be flipped to right. Yeah, is alchemizable to not ability is innate. That one's good. Random ability where not X dot is innate. Okay, I think we're basically good now. Every day I eat breakfast watching this live game dev before going to work. Awesome, welcome Carlos, good to see you. Have you already reached a state where you need to change practically the entire core of your code to implement an important mechanic? Did you decide to refactor the code or discard the mechanic? No, I haven't had to refactor any major systems in several months. All of the new content and features that I've been adding and changing have been relatively isolated to the relevant parts. So I feel like my code is decently modular. I mean, of course, there are changes where I need to touch all kinds of places. Like, I mean, here I'm renaming a property, right? So it's like, you know, I kind of have to update everywhere where that property is referenced. But no, all the major systems in my game are pretty set, pretty good, pretty modular. So when I need to change the way that something works, it's usually isolated to like a handful of classes that operate or that touch that feature. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I would say that my code base here is relatively easy to work on. There are very few things that I'm like, oh, I want to add this to the game or I want to change this, where it becomes a really difficult thing to do because of the code structure. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, a lot of times I will refactor, especially earlier on, you know, refactoring to support new use cases and to support ease of development. That kind of thing is very important. But yeah, I think my code base here is mature at this point, so it's relatively straightforward to get the things done that I need to get done. Okay, so now we have to do one more thing here, which is base card ability set is innate. Nope. Base composed ability set is innate. Here. So wherever this is used, I need to make sure to flip this, and I may have already done that. Yeah, I think I already did that. All these lines are a little marked with a little change here. I didn't know I could click those. Interesting. You learn something new every day. You can click these little highlight changes to see what the change was for that line. Huh. I don't know why I never thought to click those before. That's super cool. Anyway, so we're gonna say rename is alchemizable. So this is just a lot clearer in terms of like what this means now. But all of that was done because now what I need to do is I need to introduce some kind of additional thing in here, which is like public bool is reagent ability or something like that. And then in here, when we're doing the description, so we are going to mark this as innate, but we want to check the if is reagent ability. I'm just going to copy this reagent or string not is null or empty prefix, and then we're going to do else here. So is innate is still going to be set on a reagent, but it's also going to have this is reagent ability set. So is reagent ability is going to take precedence over the is innate, and then we're going to put some reagent text in here. So that should hopefully work. And then when we go to get the additional ability explanations, we're going to say equals is innate and not is reagent ability, question mark innate. Let's do ability explanation. We'll just do ability explanation here. Actually, it'll be easier to do this. Reagent explanation is equal to is reagent ability, ability explanations dot reagent. Okay, so let's create a reagent explanation here. We will do color light green maybe. Reagent abilities only take effect when used in alchemy. Something like that, and we can change that to be a little bit clearer, but so we've got this additional explanation is absorbed. So absorbed is going to take precedence over everything else, which is a little bit interesting. But here what we can do is we'll just do Actually, let's do this. Ability explanation, reagent, or innate explanation. I think that'll work. So if it's a reagent ability, we're putting a single array with that reagent. If it's innate, we'll do it single element array with that innate, otherwise null. And then if it's absorbed, it's gonna add absorbed. Otherwise it will add this or fall back to an empty array. Well, that's a little bit weird, but that's okay. So now we need to set this is reagent ability. Set as negative ability. This is never used. I got rid of negative abilities, but I kept the code around. I guess that's okay. Public void set is reagent ability. Do I need to save this? I don't think I need to save this in the save file. I don't think I need to do that. Just kind of kept selling reagents because I couldn't be bothered to work them out. Gotcha. Hello, Junie. Welcome back. Actually, I don't know if that's Junie. I don't recognize that face. Maybe Junie got hacked. I don't know. Much grammar, very well. You can replace the search and you can replace using the search and replace. Yes, I'm aware of that. Yes, I've been an engineer for many years. I am aware of the basic functionality of my IDE. I prefer to do the rename symbols and then go through the changes and see everywhere where the symbol changed, because searching based on string alone may end up changing things in my scene files, or may end up changing things in my resources, or may end up changing things in strings that I don't want to change. So I rename the symbol and then I go through and update that only where the symbol was changed. Okay. So, good morning, NinjaLink. All right, so what else? Right, I need to set all of these as... Oh. Ability composed, alchemy, absorbability, here we go. How do I actually do this? Is innate, is copyable. Oh, I guess I could just do is reagent ability. So we can copy, just copy this and we'll paste this here. All of my alchemy abilities are defined as concrete classes here. So they're not using like the quote unquote fluent way of defining abilities that my other abilities use. Is that it? There will be an easy way to test this too. I don't need to go into the game. I can go to my card inspector, card inspection tool here. And we can go to ally, reagent. Oh. Interesting. I forgot that I already have a keyword for reagent. I mean, maybe that's fine. I don't know. What do you guys think? So, I mean, it's pulling in the icon automatically, but maybe that's okay. And then this one can just be, maybe I can make this one consistent. Although I don't know if having a keyword like that is, and the souls are also not correct. I don't know if having a keyword like that be the same as the tag is a good idea. Now this could be renamed to like alchemy or something. What do you guys think? Any opinions? Let's fix the lead ingot to start. Guarantee legendary alchemy. Now, why is this not... Okay, we're going to rename this. Guarantee legendary alchemy. We're going to rename this to alchemy guarantee legendary. And then we're going to rename this here. Alchemy guarantee legendary. You can change the key there, I suppose. Is reagent ability equals true. Okay, and then what was the other one? The soul. Medium soul. Dummy ability. Right, so I do need to do this in here. Public bool is reagent ability. You don't need to initialize that to false. Thank you very much, AI. Okay, is innate. Is reagent ability equals ability config is reagent ability. Is that all I need to do? I think that's it, right? So is innate is reagent ability equals true. I need to check on the ability provenance as well and see if I need to include that information or not. I don't think so. Provenance model. Do I need to do this? Is alchemized. I think that's fine. Makes more sense to be alchemy, using the tag make it confusing. Yeah, we could do that. Ingredient, consumable, not sure. We could try that. So let's see, close all. Base composed ability is reagent ability. That's fine. We'll do alchemy. And that means I'm going to need to do description utils, alchemy, color light green, and we're going to do a null icon. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, goodness. I have a drinking problem. Okay, let's try that. You're not allowed to use that joke if you haven't watched Airplane. I have watched Airplane. Airplane is one of my favorite comedies for sure. I love all those kind of like, I forgot who's the director or the actor that's they do a bunch of movies like that. Like there's The Naked Gun too, right? I think it's the same people if I'm not mistaken. Those have always I wish there were more comedy movies like that were just like dumb gag after dumb gag. That would be, the world would be a better place. But anyway, Leslie Nielsen, yes, thank you. I haven't seen the new Naked Gun, but I heard it's good with Liam Neeson. It is, yeah, I saw that one. That one's really funny too. That one's really funny. I think it suffers from the problem that a lot of modern comedy movies suffer from, is that it's like 20 or 30 minutes too long, you know? But it's still funny. I like it. Okay. Now the question is, I actually don't know how these boss souls are going to work. Let's go ahead and defeat a boss really quick. So I'm going to commit what I have. So we'll commit what I got there. I love Elf in a Jar. Yeah, I like that one too. Apologies that is not taking effect in your save files. I somehow completely overlooked needing to save the turn cooldown in the save file. Which I guess is understandable because the Elf in the Jar is the only thing in the game that can actually reduce like the base turn cooldown. Everything else that reduces the turn cooldowns take effect like as a result of other abilities. So, but that reagent actually changes the base number. So I forgot to persist that to the save file, which is sad, but that's okay. Okay, so yeah, I need to do this. Project settings, we're gonna add God mode. Map region height 100. We're gonna get a very tiny little map here, compressed. So I can go immediately to a boss. Bam. Alchemy adds the following ability to allied items. Innate projects to adjacent allied items. Innate applied to fire. Oops. Why is that one innate now? There's too many innates there, so we got to figure out what's going on with the boss souls specifically. Oh. Okay. Oh, innate is true by default here, that's why. That needs to be false by default. Okay, that should fix it. That would have affected basically every ability in the game, actually. So, projects to allied adjacent items, apply to fire. Everything else looks fine. We do have the innate on the skeleton dragon still. So let's also go ahead into the game and just do some alchemy and make sure that the innate abilities are not being passed around. So let's go ahead and add items, skeleton. Well, let's do add item. Death Orchid first. Drop that in there. Add item, skeleton, dragon. So we don't want the innate abilities to be passed around. So I'll just make sure, well, I don't want to do that actually. Just throw that guy in there, throw that guy in there, throw this guy in there. So I just make sure none of these end up getting the innate abilities of the skeleton dragon. Yeah, it looks good to me. It's time for game dev once again. Yes, indeed. Welcome, Jack at Daytona. Good to see you. I really like this change that everything's expressed in seconds now. I think it's much easier to understand. Like I don't think I even need a tutorial for that. I think that becomes self-explanatory now, which is great. The more in this game that can be self-explanatory, the more that the more that doesn't need to be explained, the better. Okay. So I think that works. Of course, we can, we can work on the language there, but the most important thing now is that those reagents have been tagged with an alchemy tag. So while we're doing this kind of improvement, I think it would be a good idea to add a passive tag. So this is going to be largely the same, but there are some abilities that take effect outside of combat, and I think it would be useful to mark those as such. Now this might actually be a little bit tricky here. I may need to rethink how I'm doing this. Composed ability. Okay. So there's going to be a question here, like what happens if I have something that's passive and innate? That might be a little bit much. I may need to rethink this again, but anyway. So I think what I want to do here is we have this base composed ability. We're going to do public bool is passive. And then in my non-combat composed ability, we're going to do is passive equals true. And then what we should be able to do in here is if I go to my base composed ability here, I'm going to add the prefix passive here. Okay. And then we're going to also need to add the ability explanations. Why did this happen? Oh, goodness. Hello, Wiseham. Welcome. Good to see you. Hello, Dennett. How well does Godot use C#? It's fine, yeah. Yeah, it's fine. There's no problems here, so yeah, no problems at all. Maybe you could just have it say innate passive and then take the colon at the end, then highlight the whole thing, the passive color. Would at least read well that way. Yeah, I could do that for sure. Hello, Wuios, welcome back. Could be as simple as innate and passive, maybe making sure those items are unlocked in progression. Yeah, I think there's a solution here. I'm thinking whether to use GD script or C#. I think the only consideration you really need to make if you're trying to decide between them is that C#, if you use C#, you cannot do web exports. So if you have an idea that you want to put your game like as an HTML5 export or whatever, so that people can play it from the web, that is not possible with C# right at the moment. So that's really the only consideration you need to make. But if you're like me and you're just making a desktop version of the game, you know, like you're distributing it to platforms, then the only consideration really between which language you want to use is which one you feel more comfortable using, like which one feels more appealing to you. I like to use C# just because of all of the extra structure, the interfaces, proper abstract classes. I also get to use things like link, and I can pull in NuGet packages as I need them. So I just feel a lot more productive and feel like I can design my code a lot better with C# and all the features that it gives me. But, you know, you could make a game like this in GDScript for sure. I just had the craziest home network disaster I've ever experienced. My router died after 12 years. Ordered a new one. Got it delivered 40 minutes later. Installed, rewired, and configured it. Wow. All within 5 hours. The craziest part, it works. Yeah, that is, yeah. Yeah, if I had to replace my router, I don't know if I'd be able to do it that quickly because of all the configurations. Like I've got static IPs assigned to like various devices like my NAS and my Raspberry Pi. Yeah, that is good. That could have definitely been like an all-day thing for sure. 12-year-old router though. That is quite a long life. But hey, at least with the new router you get all the new Wi-Fi specs, right? The faster Wi-Fi. You wanna know what's crazy? I went to Goodwill the other day, which for those, Goodwill is probably not an international thing. It's just a thrift store here. So I went to Goodwill, I was just walking around and I found a router in like their electronics section. And it didn't look like a normal router at all. And I was like, okay. So I looked at the model number and I looked it up. That router is $350 new on Amazon. And so I picked it up from Goodwill for 28 bucks. So, you know, not that I needed a router, but it's like a $300 router for $28. And here's the crazy part. Also, it worked. Like I had to buy a power supply for it because they didn't sell it with a power supply, but that was just a typical, you know, DC power adapter. So anyway, I don't know what the point of that story is other than I got this really cool thrift store find, and now I know how people feel when they find like really cheap clothes at thrift stores. I have a NAS for ASPI with Pi-hole and unbound several static IP addresses and so on. Yeah, it sounds very similar to my setup. I don't have a Pi-hole. I'm using AdGuard. For some reason, Pi-hole just didn't work that well for me because I would like try to exclude clients from the blocking because, you know, my wife, she works from home a lot of the time, and I just don't want the Pi-hole or the ad blocking to block anything that's like necessary for her work or anything. So rather than dealing with like specific exceptions, I just want to exclude her client devices from the ad blocking. And that didn't really work with Pi-hole for some reason, but AdGuard works fine. So it's the same difference, but it's just a different service. W Goodwill find, yeah, most of the time the good stuff has been picked through. Yeah. I must have got there like just the right time. Like I've never found anything that interested me at Goodwill, but I just on a whim, I was donating stuff because when my wife moved in, we had a bunch of stuff to get rid of. So I was donating a bunch of stuff and I was like, well, while I'm there, I might as well go and look through, and lo and behold, this $300 router. So, which is great because the way that my NAS is set up, I actually don't have it on a wired connection. It's just because the drives make a lot of noise and there's nowhere to put it in my office where it can be wired to the router where it's not going to bother the heck out of me. So it's actually in a different room. And that router that I got now is set up in like a wireless bridge mode. So it's basically like, you know, it's just like a pass-through device. It's as if I was directly connected to my main router, but it's just a wireless connection. So the static IP assignment to the NAS still works and all that stuff. And both of the routers are like 5 gigabit, you know, Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi 7 routers. And so I still get really fast transfer speeds over wireless, which is great. And I don't have to listen to the drive noise. I switched to AdGuard because it allows custom domain entries. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's true. I'm still hoping to stumble on a cheap Apple. Always wanted one as a kid. What is it? //GS. Goodwill by me is always junk. Can't speak for older Pi-hole versions, but the new version 6 has client-specific rules. Interesting. Okay. Apple 2GS. Okay, anyway, OG Apple for Zennials like me, gotcha. All right, I'm gonna take a quick 3-minute break, and when I come back, we're gonna finish implementing this new passive tag for non-combat abilities, and we're gonna see how that works, but I'll be right back in just 3 minutes, and we'll continue on. Okay, I am back. Courier Games says, what is a Xennial? A Xennial is like it's a mixture. It's kind of like, like Generation X and the Millennials and stuff. The Xennial is like the people born in between those generations. I don't really understand the generation thing, to be honest. I've never quite understood it. Because I think I'm like technically a millennial, but at the tail end of that, and my experiences growing up are basically like not similar at all to the experience of like the early millennials growing up. So I've never really understood that generation thing, but it's all right. Born roughly 1977, 1983, yeah. Grew up with payphones, but then the internet hit big when we were in high school and college. Yeah. My number one test for if someone is a millennial, do you like Harry Potter? I do like Harry Potter. That's a good test. How do you go about making your animations? They seem quite stylized. So a lot of my animations are either tweens that are defined in code, or for like the character, for the characters. I basically just cut them into pieces, so you can see how I have all these different pieces cut out. And then I just animate those. I guess I have to do this blend space. I just animate those with keyframes. And so, yeah, that's it. I don't do frame by frame animations for a couple of reasons. One, those are very difficult to do. And number two, I find that it's faster to create and iterate on animations doing it this way. Now, you can make an argument that it doesn't look as good. I mean, the last time I posted a video like this or showing like this, like there was a bunch of people who were like, no, that looks ugly. How dare you rotate pixels? And it's like, to each their own. If you want to be like a pixel purist, then you definitely need to do frame by frame animations, but I'm trying to save as much time as possible while still creating a good result. And so, yeah, that's how I do my animations. And probably will. I mean, it's gotten to the point where that's kind of like, that's just kind of like the style that I fell into. Like when you're looking at a Firebelly game, you're probably going to see animations in that style. And I might just keep doing that because I think it's just like, it's kind of become part of the way that I make games. It's become part of like the identity of how I make games. And so I don't really see a future where I will go into like doing frame by frame animation. I may just stick with that. I think I'm getting better at doing that kind of animation, and I think it looks good, and it's like kind of like a visual stamp of like, this is a Firebelly game. Not saying that I'm the only one that does that, but I'm just saying like that is one of the elements that makes a Firebelly game. And so I might as well just keep doing that. I mean, I've been watching some like game dev interviews with some game devs who have been in the industry for a while, and it's like they're using their engines that they made like 30 years ago, and they're just like updating it or modernizing it where necessary, but they're making games the same way that they made 30 years ago. So when you see a game made from this developer, it's like, oh, like you see a screenshot of your game and you're like, yep, I bet that's from them, I thought that's kind of interesting. It's just part of like the brand identity, I guess. So I'll probably stick with that, probably stick with the way that I'm doing things and continue to just make improvements to how I'm doing those things. But yeah, I don't really see a reason to change up how I'm doing it. You a millennial? Sorry, bro. Yeah. Do you do all the animation player in Godot too? Yes, I do, yeah. He needs to rattle when walking. That's a good idea, yeah. Strange for Gen Y millennials because the range is 1981 to 1996, but there was such a large amount of tech advancement that everyone grew up with way different experiences. Yeah, for sure. So for instance, like when I was like 6 or 7 years old, like we already had internet in the house, right? So it's like, that's going to be vastly different than somebody who's like in high school when the internet is becoming a big thing, right? So it's like, and like when YouTube became a thing, I was in like 6th or 7th grade, which is going to be vastly different experience to somebody who, YouTube comes out when they're a late teenager or early 20s, right? So Anyway, what am I doing? I'm getting distracted. You all are distracting me. Looks great to me, thank you. First, I was just echoing, no, you can't scale your pixels in engine argument, and I've done a lot in this, game, and the game looks great. Unless your game just has wild scaling all over the place, the player won't notice. Yeah, I mean, I think, look, it's not pixel perfect, but I think, like, the main rule of art, I think, is, like, you just have to be consistent, right? And so if your pixels are all being crunched in the same way throughout the game, it's like, yeah, it's not pixel perfect, and if you were to take a screenshot and look at it, you'd be like, ooh, that doesn't look so good. But when everything's in motion, and everything is kind of like being crunched the same way, I don't know if that's the right word, but it creates it at least creates a coherent visual style. And I don't know, I kind of feel about that the same way I feel about pixel art, which is that as long as you're just giving the impression that something is happening, it doesn't really matter like what the actual pixels end up looking like on the screen. So, for example, with the priestess character, right? The priestess character. So she has this orb here, which, you know, rotates like this. But in game, that just gets crunched to all heck, right? But it still looks like a rotating, kind of like rotating discs around an orb. So it's like, you know, I think it looks fine, you know. It's not perfect. It's not like, you know. It's not perfect, but it still looks fine. Quite like the style. Thank you, Ekian. Appreciate that. 6 or 7, maybe you would Gen Alpha. Would tell the tale of dial-up internet, watching image fill line by line. Dial-up internet modems were the best. I've seen some people say you shouldn't mix pixel art sizes, like the majority of the art in my game is 16 by 16. I shouldn't use pixel art other than that. What do you think about that? I don't think it's necessary. It's not the size that is the problem necessarily. What you don't want to do is you don't want to mix texel sizes. So each individual pixel should be the same size as each other pixel. There's like a very like amateurish mistake that people will make when they're first doing pixel art, which is that they will mix the texel sizes. And so like an example of that would be, let's say that I've got a smiley face and it looks like this, right? But then I wanted to do another smiley face and I did, whoops. So I have another smiley face in my game and it looks like this, right? See how the pixels are different sizes, right? We've got this pixel, which is like the smallest it can be, which is like 1 by 1. But then I've got these pixels or these texels, which are 2 by 2 or 3 by 3. Are those 3 by 3? No, 2 by 2. So you don't want to be in this situation where some of your art assets have larger pixels than other assets. They should all use the same texel size. But in terms of like, you know, like how are you going to draw an environment? Like let's say you have a 16 by 16 character, right? But you need to put the character in an environment like where there's trees. Like you're gonna have to draw the tree larger, right? So I don't think like everything needs to be the same canvas size. It just needs to be the case that they all use the same pixel size, if that makes sense. Who picked up the phone? I was downloading a new game. Yeah. Do you use DI service locator for a project? I don't know if I'm like technically using the service locator, but I do have managers in my scene tree which I can grab from anywhere by using. So I assign a group name to those managers through Godot, but those end up being the only nodes in that group name. So I can fetch a manager by just saying get the first node in this group with that manager name. So I think that's kind of a service locator pattern, but I don't use dependency injection or anything. So yeah. That would happen to me while I was playing Diablo or StarCraft. Oof. What word is that? Texel. Texel. How would I know if I didn't make the art? I mean, you could just look at it. It's pretty easy to just look at the art and see if the pixels are different sizes. You're welcome. Okay, anyway, let's get this passive thing done here. Is passive. So actually, we may actually already be almost done with this. We'll use blue for this. All right, let's go find a passive ability. So I'm looking for ally. We're looking for dowsing rod. Here we go. So there we go. Passive. Increases critical chance by 50%. So we are missing that ability explanation though, but now we've got this passive tag there. Oh boy. I'm just gonna do this. This is a mess. There's a nicer way to do this, I'm sure, but I'm just gonna do. Okay. We're just gonna do it the easy way first. It's fine. What other passive do we have? I think the zombie has a passive. Yeah, passive. If there's an adjacent alchemical item, gain 50% critical chance of 1.5x critical multiplier. So that is a lot clearer, I think. So anything that has a non-combat ability. Now I do need to update. So let's do add passive. So we add the passive tag to abilities. What did I change? Oops, I think I committed something I shouldn't have committed. Oh, that's fine. Okay. So now I just need to look for all my non-combat abilities because I have some places where the non-combat ability is nested. So this one is fine. That's fine. This legendary ability. So here, what I need to do. We're going to grab that out of there. We're going to put this in the description function here. And then what I can do is I can do here self turn cooldown increase dot get description. So this ability is weird because there's a nested non-combat ability in a combat ability. But I think if I just move the description there and then... Yeah, and actually I don't think I need this anymore. I can just put this here. And then I just pull that description text out of that interior ability into the overall ability. I think that should work. Okay, where else am I using non-combat ability? Reduced crit chance. Oh, these are negative abilities. I don't care about that. Critical modifiers. Yeah. Hands of the Fallen. So we'll try Hands of the Fallen too. Let's see. I basically just want to make sure anywhere else where I have a nested non-combat ability, like here, this Corvid here. Actually, maybe that's not it. Why is this here? What does this do? Oh, I see. That's a little bit weird, but it's fine. Eyeball, fire arrow. So this is kind of weird. So basically this card data provider, this gives me a bunch of data about the card that the ability is on. But the reason I wrap that in a non-combat ability is because the non-combat abilities will be updated outside of combat. And so that means that the card data provider data will be updated outside of combat so that I can use it in the generation of this description. So it's a little bit weird, but what are you going to do? I could just make the card data provider maybe an I non-combat ability, but I don't want to mess with anything right now. It'll be fine. Giant mushroom. Max, thank you for the raid. Appreciate that. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to all the new viewers. Right now, I'm working on my game Alchemortis, which actually has a playtest available right now. So if you're interested, you can go check it out. The Steam page is linked below. Playtest is open till Monday. It's a dark fantasy roguelite auto battler where you can use alchemy to create your own builds and synergies. So if that sounds interesting, I would appreciate if you'd check that out. And we're just working on some improvements to the readability of some of the abilities in this game. That's what we're doing. I think this one is okay too. Snail cat. I think we're good actually. So let me do add artifact. Hands. If your board contains only weapon items, add items, scythe. Hands of the Fallen, echo. Oh, I see. That ability that it adds is hidden, so that's okay. Hey, just wanted to say thanks so much for all the sweet YouTube tutorials. Really jump-started my journey into game dev. Yeah, for sure. You're welcome, Max. Thanks for that message. And thanks again for the raid. It's very much appreciated. Yeah. Just your friendly neighborhood Godot tutor, I guess. Okay. I do want to test a legendary ability too, so let me think about this. Let's see, fix legendary ability. So this is going to go a long way to the readability of the game, I think. I think a lot of the feedback this time around was around readability and information overload. So whatever I can do to reduce that is great. And I think a lot of the information overload, like I was saying earlier, I think a lot of it can be reduced by just adding those little bits of clarity like what we've been doing on the stream here. So like this, alchemy abilities only take effect when used in alchemy. So yeah. And then let's see, we'll just add the Wyvern Hatchling here. Just want to make sure that that legendary ability is correct. Innate. Apply 1 fire. Yeah, that works. So check this out. So it says apply 1 fire, and then passive cooldown increase by 2.4 seconds. Now let's see if that tag is there, yeah. Passive abilities are always active. Actually, maybe that's wrong. It's kind of weird to say passive is always active. We maybe should think about a different language for that. Are always in effect. Something like that. I think that makes sense. Anyway, we don't need to commit that. That would be bad. Okay. Excellent. So we can move that on over. Let's see. What else do we got going on here? So there's like a crossbreeding problem with the alchemy that I want to address. I'm just not sure how I want to handle that. Oh, I already did this. We have a bunch of bugs too. Oh, I did want to check. So I think Ninja Link reported this one. When a card becomes legendary and gains an extra slot, that slot is never filled with any new abilities. I was not able to reproduce that, but I actually have some inklings of how maybe I could reproduce that. So let me go to my project settings. We're going to turn off ignore save file, turn this back to 0. Let's clear the save data. Okay. So I'm going to take a 1x1 item. I'm going to add item lead ingot. I'm going to go ahead and make that legendary. Okay, so that has one extra ability slot. So I'm going to quit to menu. Continue on. Apply 5 fire. So now if I add another ability here, this item will gain 1 ability. So that worked there. So I was thinking maybe 1x1 cards are the problem, or maybe quitting out of the game and reloading a save is the problem. I'm not sure. Surprising, it happened to me every time. I may have fixed it already, inadvertently. Well, let me try quitting out of the game again, and then we'll reload the save. The other thing I could try is add item gemstone. If we add the gemstone and add an extra ability slot, and then I quit out of the game again, go here. So it's got an empty ability slot. Let's just add fire again to it. Yeah, it's working. So it may have been inadvertently fixed with some other work that I did. It's kind of concerning though, because I don't remember explicitly fixing it. And the fact that I can't reproduce it is kind of worrisome. Hello, Alexa. Your game looks very neat. I'll take a play once you release it. Also, I see you're using C#. Is it actually good to use in Godot? Yeah, I'm not having any problems with C# and Godot. Not at all. I think it's really solid. And there is a playtest available of Alchemortis right now, Alexa, so if you go to the Steam page, you can actually play it right now. But if you want to wait until release, that's cool too. Of course, it's a playtest, so it's a rough version of the game. It's not really a demo. It's more so for collecting feedback, so... I always got the random chance legendary. I never used the ingot. So we can try that. So if I make everything legendary, so this has an empty ability slot. Let's add echo to this. Now that's working. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit worrisome. So yeah, I mean, if I'm basically doing all the things that you were doing to get that issue and I can't reproduce it, I mean, I'll keep it just in the backlog just in case I notice it happening to me, but it may have been fixed. It may have been fixed somehow. I got basic multiplayer working in Godot C# over the past few nights. No issues with RPC stuff either. Awesome. Yeah. I haven't done RPC in C# in a while, but I would assume it would work. I think it's just a little bit weird because of the way you need to annotate things. But you can't create a web version with C#, right? Prefer the cons of C#, but I'd like to have all what Godot provides for people who use GDScript. Yeah, you can't do a web version, but, you know, for a game like Alchemortis, like, I'm not going to distribute a web version, so C# is fine. But yeah, I mean, if you want to have all your options available to you, then GDScript is the way to go for sure. All right, let's do this. I think it would be a good idea to do a playtest with all these changes, and I can just kind of talk through everything that I've changed. So we're just going to do a quick playtest. We're going to go through the game with all the new changes. We'll see how it's feeling. But before I do that, I am going to take just another quick break here. And then when I come back, we will start on this run here. And we'll see how everything's feeling. And I'll kind of talk through all the changes that have been made. And we'll see how it's going. And I'll take notes and whatever needs to be adjusted. Like I said, I think fire still needs some work. But anyway, I'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Okay, I'm back. Not sure if anyone else has mentioned this, but a new game button on the main menu would be nice along with continue. I find myself just wanting to start fresh when I reload the game. Yeah, we could do that for sure. So yeah, we can do that. It's annoying to have to go in and abandon the run just to restart. Yeah. Thank you, thank you. All right, let's give this a test. Let's see how far I can get with all the new changes here. Obviously, got to go for the grow board. I still got to figure out what I want to do about the grow board events. All right, let's see. Apply 8 fire, becomes exhausted. We might as well actually apply 1 poison. Actually, I might just fit this squid on here and this. Let's see if a poison build will work. We can do a grow board. Let's go left. Move this over. I guess I should have grown the board right, but that's okay. Let's see. There's an artifact over there. Probably do that. Like your style and color palette. Was it hard to choose colors for your game? Did you use something for creating your palette? I was, yeah, I got the palette from Low Spec, which is just like a pixel art website where you can find palettes and other resources. So yeah, when I started this game, I just kind of like scrolled through Low Spec. I knew that I wanted to use a low color palette, like a low color count. So I was searching, I think I was searching for like 8 to 16 colors or something like that. And I found this one and I was like, oh yeah, this is the one. So yeah. So you guys will get to see what the new poison looks like. So poison now just does 1 damage every tick for every 15 stacks of poison. And also decays faster the more stacks there are. So as you can see, it's a little bit nerfed compared to where it was before, but it is still possible to get those poison synergies going and like rack up lots of poison. Apply 1 poison. Ooh. The squid is kind of a long cooldown, but ceremonial dagger. What do I want to do here? Ceremonial dagger plus viper. Let's see if I get what I want. Yes, very nice. Oh, and this one also has poison. Okay, go here. So this should rack up poison quite substantially. So I think this poison, even though it's much nerfed, actually feels a lot more satisfying because you're getting that consistent DPS. And then it's just a matter of seeing how fast you can ramp up the number so you get more DPS out of it. Oh, a frog. Looks like we're doing poison build. Go to artifact. When starting out, I thought poison hurt my character as a negative. Sounds like I was wrong. Yeah, poison does not hurt you. Booster packs offer 1 additional... Oh, that needs to change. One additional item. Draft of Coagulation. Health is no longer restored after combat. All allied items gain heal. That increases for each time the item has been alchemized. I'm actually going to take the Fog of War radius. There's another board grow up there. We'll go here. Let's see if we can get some more poison. We cannot. So let's do minion instead. Oh. For each unique status applied by allied items since last execution, apply 4 stacks of that status. We're definitely going to want that one. Let's put the frog in there with this. That should give me what I need. Yep. Bam. Actually, that would have been better on the ceremonial dagger. Would it have been? Maybe not. That also applies poison. We don't need this. That can go away. Go to the shop. Do I want to try to fit this on my board? I don't know. Has a 50% chance to reward one defeated enemy item after combat victory. That's mighty tempting. Oh, but there's a board growth here too. 25% lifesteal. Alchemical reagents. I'm going to take the subjugator's ring, actually. That's going to be fun. I feel like this board is going to be tough, but maybe not. Let's see. Why is the frog so slow? Oops, I think there's an issue here. Why is my frog so slow? Did it swap the cooldowns of the staff and the frog? Uh-oh, we may have a problem here. We may have a problem. So I did make a change yesterday to Alchemy where instead of cards being created, or instead of cards being destroyed and recreated, I'm preserving the reference to the card. And the reason for that is because I can do tracking, like I can see how long you had a specific card. Because previously when you do the alchemy, it would actually destroy the card and create a new instance of it. But now it's keeping the instance and just modifying the instance. And like I said, that should allow me to track statistics about cards. Like if you have, like I could have like a favorite card or whatever, and like, you know, it'd be the card that you had in your combat the longest or whatever. My frog is so slow though. I kind of bricked that. I don't know why it changed. Why did it change the cooldown? I'm just going to kind of do this. Does the frog just have like a massive cooldown? Am I mistaken? Oh, the frog does have a massive cooldown. How did that happen? I might have to go through and just check something. Yeah, the cat has a massive turn cooldown too. What is going on here? Embalming fluid. Friar, yeah, Friar has a huge turn cooldown as well. I don't know why this happened. Let's just do 50. Gold needs to be 79. Guillotine. Yeah, I don't know why this is so... Why my script must have messed up. I'm just making up turn cooldown numbers for these things. I don't know why this... Yeah, I must have messed something up. All right, we'll fix all these. Mutton. Yeah, that's way too high too. Plague Mask. I wonder why this happened. It's okay. My run might be bricked now because of this. It's okay, we'll try it out. Orch. Yeah, this is... I don't know why that's so long here. Voodoo Doll, Warhorn. Okay, Zombie. I think Zombie should still have a relatively high turn cooldown. Okay. Anyway. Do I want to keep this? Let's get rid of the Mosquito Swarm. We'll grab that just in case. Grab the artifact. Vela, my beloved. Mosquito Swarm. Yeah, size of the cards affects attack speed. No, the size of the cards affects how many abilities they can have. So you can see that this Skeleton Dragon has a lot of default abilities, but it also has a bunch of empty ability slots. And so I can use the alchemy system to put more abilities on the Skeleton Dragon. And yeah, that will just make the Skeleton Dragon more powerful. So yeah, the size of the items is not really correlated to their attack speed. I can have large items that have low attack speed, large items that have high attack speed, but it's mostly the number of abilities that they can support, which has changed. Swap the frog with the staff, problem solved. Oh, that's true. They're all in the 130s, weirdly. I think, so I wrote a script that basically loaded up all the resources and then multiplied the number by 3, and then added a random range of -3 to 3 after that. And what must have happened is maybe Godot resaved some of the resources, or maybe when I undid the, because I did several iterations of that, right? I tried a 2 multiplier, that didn't work, so I had to revert all the changes, then do a 3 multiplier. It's possible that maybe I just missed some things, or, you know, something got resaved after I had discarded it, and then it got multiplied by 3 again. So, yeah, that's okay. It only happened to a handful of things, and I can't go back and redo it now, so I'll just manually fix them. How do you alchemize Skeleton Dragon, though? It's too big. You need the Death Orchid to do so, which I may change. I think I may make the alchemy board 4x4 by default. So this is the kind of thing where I'm like, maybe I need some additional meta progression, because right now it's just about unlocking content, but I think it would be interesting if, for example, you were able to unlock another row of inventory slot through the meta progression here. I think that would be really nice to do. Maybe the alchemy starts at 3x3, but there's something you can do to unlock the 4x4 size, and that's the default now. So I think maybe some meta progression that does change like the availability of like inventory space or alchemy could work. So I don't know. Any thoughts on that? Should explain that you need the Lotus, otherwise it looks like you can't do anything with the dragon. I don't need to explain everything. You know, I want players to make that connection. I want players to come into the game and say, well, how in the world am I supposed to get abilities on this Skeleton Dragon? And then, you know, 20 minutes later they find a Death Orchid and it expands the alchemy board size, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, okay, you know, like I don't need to explain everything. Like there's going to be some opaque things here that you're gonna have to figure out on your own. Like I'm okay with players being confused as to how to do something at first in certain situations. because that's kind of like part of the discovery of how the game works, right? Like, I think this is enough. Like, the fact that this has empty ability slots but is the same size as the alchemy, like, as a I think players are going to go, how am I supposed to get abilities there? And now they've got that little puzzle in the top of their head where they're like, there has to be a way to do this, right? So I'm okay with that. I don't need, not everything needs to be explained explicitly. Meta progression, increasing inventory space is a good idea. Also, hello. Hello, Ito, welcome back. Cell space could probably be changed to a bag or something so it doesn't take up too much space for the inventory. Yeah, that's true. I think I have room to add one extra row here, but if I wanted to make the inventory a lot larger, I could rework this. Oh, but I have to redraw all this stuff. When an item is upgraded, it is upgraded by an additional tier. Minion critical chance. Do we dare do a reroll? Reroll. Oh, it gave me a hammer again. Reduce alchemy cost by 1, that's fine. We could do a board size increase. I want to get the Viper here, so we'll go down and put the Viper there. I want to grab the enchant. Let's see what we got going on here. Adds a ritual tag, cooldown is reduced by 0.3 seconds, increase critical chance by 10%. Well, we might as well do... That enchant probably should be... Oh, this is not an ability. Oh, I gotta okay. So I had this enchantment before I had the concept of abilities that could change the turn cooldown, but I think what I want to do now is make this enchant wrap an ability that gets placed onto the item, and then that will take into account the passive tag and everything. So I think I'll do that. Let's turn up the speed a little bit. So it's still very satisfying to ramp up the poison. You can see that I'm almost dying, but am I going to make it? I didn't make it. Son of a biscuit. Well, there's my only resurrection that I have. Yikes. Deal damage equal to armor damage dealt. Increases enemy current status stacks by 1 for each allied alchemical item above. Cooldown is reduced by 0.6 seconds if the item is on the left edge of the board. I want to see... Let's see if we can get the snail cat onto the Viper. I hope it doesn't remove a poison ability. That's not great. But this is alchemical. Actually, that's not great. I don't know about this one. But yeah, the poison feels a lot nicer now because it's still very satisfying to ramp it up. But it does not do nearly as much damage. So it's much... I like it. I think it's a very, very good improvement. Fire is really the only status that is now like super bursty, so I got to figure out what to do about that. But I have a feeling I'm going to lose this one. Let's just go ahead and start combat, I guess. Probably going to lose this one, but let's see. Yeah. Oh, I lost. You have no resurrection stones. End run. I did 606 poison damage though, and those are my artifacts. That's my inventory. That's my combat board. I did not win. So still some balancing work to be done for sure, but I think it's generally feeling better. Like, it's certainly more difficult. Even with those board size increases. Oh, this is not showing the border. Oh, right. I gotta fix that too. Let me fix that really quick. Top, left, right, bottom. Do I have this set to ignore? Yeah. Okay. Let me just make sure that that's still good. Any day now, thank you. Could also have modifiers that reduce inventory space too. Grumble Snowcat Cult. How does poison work now? So poison does 1 damage every 0.5 or 0.4 seconds for every 15 stacks of poison that you have. Well, it's 1 plus 1 per 15 stacks. So if you have 14 or less stacks of poison, every 0.4 seconds it deals 1 damage, and then it also decays by 1 stack. For every 15 stacks you have after that, it does an additional damage per 0.4 seconds, but it also consumes an additional stack. So what you end up with is you end up in a situation where as you increase your poison stacks, it does more DPS, but it also decays faster. So that creates a situation where it's still very satisfying to get high amounts of poison because your DPS goes up. But it decays faster the more damage that it's doing. I think it feels really, really good. And I can tweak all those numbers too. Like I could say instead of every 15 stacks, it's every 12 stacks. Or I could say instead of ticking every 0.4 seconds, it ticks every 0.6 seconds. So the nice thing about the new poison rework is I have all of these extra levers that I can pull to change the DPS of it. Whereas previously, like there wasn't a good way to like change the DPS. So I want to get into a situation with my status stacks where like it's still fun to apply like 100 plus of that status, but that doesn't give it like this runaway bursty power, right? Like it should increase the power the more stacks that you're applying for sure, but it should also, you know, not just be like an easy win button when you put together that thing. You know, it's still, the game still needs to feel like kind of like a war of attrition during the auto battle phase, with very rare circumstances where maybe you put together the perfect build that just does massive amounts of damage all in one sweep. Looks amazing. Thank you, Joaquin. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Does VS Code GitHub panel not have a stash button? It does, yeah. It does. This button here, stash unstaged changes. Okay. So I think the runs are feeling a lot nicer. I still need to figure out what to do about the board growth. Would you consider private lessons? Thank you for asking, but no, I don't do private lessons, no. That sounds complicated. It's not complicated. I think it's pretty easy to understand. Basically, you do more damage for every 15 stacks you have. That's basically all you need to know. And that's explained in-game as well. Have you decided how you want to rework fire? So I already have reworked fire a little bit. So the way that fire works now is that it starts a timer of 10 seconds the first time a fire status is applied. And then after 10 seconds, it consumes all the fire stacks and deals a big amount of damage equal to stacks. But as you apply, like again, it's 15 stacks. So every 15 stacks of fire you apply during this window, it actually reduces the time remaining by half a second. So every 15 stacks you apply reduces this by half a second. So the idea is that the more fire you're applying, the quicker the burst happens. But I still need to figure out like what to do about the damage, because obviously the more fire you apply, the quicker the burst is going to happen, but then it deals burst damage equal to the number of stacks that you applied, which is, you know, fire is still like a little bit bursty because it's not infeasible to get like 100 stacks of fire applied, and that's just going to deal 100 damage right off the bat there. But I haven't decided that. I mean, I haven't really tried to do a fire build yet and see how that carries me, so we'll see. I just got called stupid by Firebelly Games. No, I think it sounds complicated to explain how poison works, but when you actually are playing the game and you're seeing how it works, it's actually, I think it's pretty intuitive. Like, the more poison you apply, the higher the DPS goes, and the faster it decays. And you can see that very easily just like in the combat animation. I mean, look, if people say it's confusing or it's a little bit too complicated, I'll definitely change it. But I think it's one of those situations where trying to explain how it works is actually more complicated than just observing how it works in game. I don't know if you ever saw my suggestion in Discord about having fire be applied to a certain item and having it spread to adjacent items. I did, yeah. I don't know if I want to do that because that's just not how status effects work. But I like the explosion style rework. Yeah, so still the trick is like, how do I differentiate fire from poison? And so poison is like a consistent DPS over time that you can ramp up the more poison you apply. Whereas fire is like this thing where you get more DPS out of it. Well, again, you get more DPS out of it the more stacks that you apply, but like, because there's a timer, the detonation timer that shrinks the more you apply. So like, you actually get more bursty DPS out of fire than you would out of like poison, for example, right? So I think poison is going to pair very well with like defensive mechanisms. So like, as your poison is chipping away at the enemy health, you're also like healing yourself and applying shield, for example, to like make sure that you last long enough that your poison can destroy them. Whereas fire is kind of like more of a glass cannon thing, where like maybe you want to just focus on applying as much fire as possible because it's going to burst the enemy down. And again, I still don't want to make it too bursty, but that's kind of like the play style that I have in my head. Is like, poison is a very like war of attrition kind of thing, whereas fire is like, you know, maybe your only focus is like apply as much fire as possible, right? Having a specific threshold for extra damage is more complicated than you do X damage in X turns. Right, but the problem is like, there's still a balance between like, I don't want to make a single stack of poison as powerful as having 40 stacks of poison, right? Like, there needs to be a power curve the more poison you apply. Now, one way I could change poison is it could, like, the tick interval could be reduced based on how much poison you apply. So like, if you have less than 15 poison stacks, it ticks every like 0.6 seconds or whatever. And then for every 15 after that, it reduces by 0.1. And then you can get to the point where it's like, it's ticking every turn. That would be like a 6x damage multiplier or a 5x damage multiplier from the default, right? So, I mean, there are still different ways to do it, but I definitely want like a power curve, right? Like, I want it to be such that your DPS is actually increasing the more poison you apply. Oh, didn't pick up my mug right away, so it looks like it just spawned in with my hand. Interesting. Seems to work well. I think it does, yeah. Middle ground between our two ideas, could you make fire actually gain an intensity over combat instead of decay? So as stacks as applied, after a certain amount of turns, it would duplicate stacks. Yeah, that's something that I thought about too. I just don't know how to balance that. Unless I did something like, you know, when the fire stacks are consumed, it does, you know, like 1 damage per 10 stacks or something. I don't know. 1 damage per 5 stacks. That could be interesting. Yeah, I'm not like, the fire is not set in stone. I mean, none of these status effects are set in stone. My main concern was just like, we got to get these status effects to not be so bursty. And I think I've accomplished that largely. And so now, you know, now we can think about like, well, how do we like tweak and refine these so they feel really good? Simulates the spreading. Yeah, I think, yeah, spreading fire is definitely a good idea. Something that I wanted to do, I couldn't figure out how to like make it work. Are there going to be more status effects, or is this a sum of it? I don't think so. I think all the status effects that are in the game right now are basically going to be what's available on release. So I think I'm pretty set. I think there's a good variety of status effects. We've got, you know, we've got poison, fire, armor, holy, bleed. I think that's a good amount. And you know, the other problem is too, like, I don't want to just introduce a status for the sake of introducing a status. Like each status should have its own unique identity. But also, you know, with the introduction of a new status, I also have to make sure that there are enough items in the game to synergize with that status or to create a build around that status. So it's not, yeah. As I add more items to the game, like when we get into like pure content mode where I'm just trying to stuff as many cards into the game as possible, or as many items into the game as possible, if I'm finding that, you know, I've really kind of like explored a lot of the space available to support the existing statuses, then maybe at that point that would be a case where I'm like, okay, can we introduce a new status and then start making cards around that, you know? But as of right now, no. This is actually wrong. I'll delete that. I feel like it's more thematic to have fire consistently deal damage and grow in stacks, not to diminish like poison. Maybe the stacks don't diminish and every 50 stacks it does a chunk of damage. Number go up style. Yeah, maybe. Slightly increase stacks after the damage. Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I'm trying to keep in mind is like, it's not impossible to put together a build that applies like 200 fire stacks within like 10 seconds, let's say. So I guess I'm still kind of worried about that being bursty or creating like a runaway scaling effect relatively easily. I have to think about it some more, but how do you balance the game when you're planning to add even more cards? Wouldn't you have to balance it again and again? Yeah, I mean, balancing this kind of a game is just hard to begin with. I think some of the balance is kind of taken care of with respect, or like, in the context of like the randomness of a run, right? So like, even if there's a card or an item that has like an outlier, very powerful ability, if you can only encounter it like once every 3 runs, just because there's so many different items to choose from, I think that's okay. And then there's also the situation of like, even when you encounter that item, it may not fit into your build at that moment, right? So I think a lot of the balancing of this game is just making sure that, generally speaking, like the difficulty curve and the power curve is like feeling okay. With some runs, like maybe you have a more difficult time scaling your power, and some runs it's a little bit easier. But yeah, there are definitely like outlier abilities that will need to be tweaked and fixed. And there are outlier abilities on the opposite end, which are so weak that no one wants to use them, right? So yeah, I mean, it's just going to be one of those things where it's iterative. Like I'm just going to have to, as I play test the game, kind of notice how I'm playing and say, oh, that one's a little bit too weak, or I almost never use this card. Can I do something to make it more appealing? It's going to be kind of like a never-ending problem. Like even after this game releases, I'm sure that the first couple of patches are going to be just like rebalancing things. Just because I don't know, it's just going to be a hard problem. Maybe have it scale with enemy board size, X fire per enemy item. That could work. Likely needed diminishing damage ramp, so early on it would say 1 damage for 10 stacks. Then go up to 1 damage per 20 stacks after 50 and so on. Would you be in favor of making certain cards have a lower chance to appear in the loot table? Yes, I actually have support for that already. I have not actually started like tweaking that number. But yes, cards do have their own weights in the loot table. They're just all the same weight. I think it's all 10. So every card has the same weight in the loot table. I was gonna save the loot table weight tweaking until like we're close to having all of the cards in the game, because then I could say, okay, like I could have a card that is like obscenely powerful, but I can make it like 50% less likely to appear compared to everything else, right? And that could be a way that I control it as well. I just haven't done that yet because I don't want to add too many variables into the system just yet until like I'm feeling decently good about the game. And then yes, that is another like little button, little dial I can turn to control the balance of the game. So you can't just stack hundreds of fire burst things. Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's one of those things where I just don't know how to handle it. I have to think about it some more. Anyway, I think the game is feeling a lot better already just with this few changes that I've made based on your playtest feedback. So I'll be spending this afternoon continuing to work on basically all of your feedback, and we'll get the game into a good state soon enough here. But anyway, that's going to be it for the stream. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. It's always appreciated. Again, you can try Alchemortis right now. There's a playtest available. So you could go to the Steam page, click request access, give it a whirl, and you can join the Discord and let me know what your feedback is. The Discord is also where I post my live announcements whenever I go live. But thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for being here. Appreciate all of your support. Let's see, I guess in my head, poison deals more damage with more stacks, but decays quickly, and fire would deal less damage with more stacks, but doesn't decay. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Less damage with more stacks, but doesn't decay. Yeah, I have to think about it, but yeah. Definitely some work to do there. Anyway, thanks again, everyone. I appreciate all of your support, like I said, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye-bye.